Shaka, shaka, talk to me. In a happy family. Tell me when you're hitting one. Better you hit all and done. Now when I look at South Africa and the pain my race go through, lying smitten by the bogus massa, deep inside I burn.
Yes, the first person to all and surgery. Yes, I'm very interested to see whether or not that I sound like a robot. So you will forgive me if I start in this manner. But of course, it is just a prelude to, of course, the official start. I mean, as the episode before, because of our internal, of course, mechanism to detect such a development.
Testing 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1. Testing 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1. Testing. Yes, indeed. Just testing to find out if I'm sounding like a robot.
Shaka, let your spirit flow through the veins of Soweto. Let your unifying hand cradle every Bantu man. Tell Tacha and Bota, stop the fooling. Tell them
All right, of course, now that I know that I'm not talking like a robot, I will now, of course, proceed with confidence and with assurance. Of course, in the background, the clippings or videos of the exercise today. Of course, we started at the Banara Promenade. We went, of course, to the to Express House. We just deviated a bit, and then, of course, to make sure that the media is attracted, and they would call, of course, their friends and so on, which, of course, was a very successful exercise. And then we went, of course, to deliver to the Auditor General that letter. Of course, she wasn't there, but excuse me, but the deputy accepted the letter. Andy Mikey and myself were the ones, of course, doing the honors. The crowd was outside, of course, over 400, and I think that was tremendous. Having regard, of course, to our previous incarnations and the relevance of this particular exercise to defend and protect not only the Auditor General, not only independent institutions, but also, of course, our democracy, which, of course, is critical for the advancement of Trinidad and Tobago today. Yes, indeed, of course, Shaka, no one should, and no one can, of course, stop us. So we will continue, of course, on this vein, along this line, until, of course, we achieve, because, as we have often said, evil could never prevail over good. And Rowley and they, in spite of their attempts to ameliorate, to soften, to placate, by some mysterious committee that they have put it together hastily, and no doubt with an attempt, of course, ultimately one of the objectives, we are not naive, one of the objectives could be to replace the sitting Auditor General. But we told her that the people have, through, of course, the deputy, who we met, of course, today, in delivering the letter to her, that we are on her side, and if the people are on your side, then, of course, no one could be against you, and we commended her stance.
Shaka, talk to me in a happy family. Tell me when you're hitting one, better you hit all and done. Now when I look at South Africa and the pain my race go through, lying smitten by the bogus massa.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are streaming on the World Wide Web. A pleasant good day to you. This is, yes, the Thursday edition of the Corridor Transformation. Of course, bringing highlights in a very minuscule way. Of course, on Saturday, yes, I'm already talking Saturday talk because tomorrow is Friday. But of course, we will be bringing a more comprehensive presentation of what transpired today during the effort to present to the Auditor General a letter in solidarity. Of course, one thing I didn't do tonight, and I will do that, of course, on Saturday, is to bring a copy of the letter that was, in fact, delivered so I can read it to you. But I'll put it in electronic form. But let's go straight, of course, to the lines. I see people are already raring, of course, to make their contribution. So let's go straight to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night. Good night, Mr. Lennox. And a little while you were sounding like a robot.
Yes. So it was a test. So now that the test is over, I am assured that that is not so now.
What I want to ask is that how come politicians could take, or the PNM could take the Auditor General and name and carry it in the Parliament, and the Speaker didn't stop them from attacking the woman integrity, and she named in the Parliament? Is there a rule for that? I don't know.
I would suspect there is a rule, because there is a principle that says that if a person is not a member of the Parliament and therefore are unable to protect themselves, parliamentary privilege must not be extended to such an individual, where the politician or the parliamentarian can speak about that individual without they having an opportunity to defend themselves. Of course, the history has been that where people are maligned during the course of a debate or by a particular parliamentarian, the person who is offended writes it to the Speaker or the presiding officer asking for an opportunity to respond. So those are options as well. But the principle is that it ought not to happen, because we expect that the people in Parliament will be honorable people. But as we know, this a bunch of opportunistic political parasites under the guise or the umbrella of the PNM in the Parliament with a very minuscule majority, talking about just 22 seats, are prepared, of course, to infringe and stretch the envelope to the point where it is not only despicable, but certainly ad nauseum, sickening, and show how weak they are, frankly, and will engage in such activity to get in their nefarious ways. But that is the answer in a nutshell, I hope, the question that you originally asked.
Okay, because sometimes I listen on the thing and on the Parliament channel, and when they call people who is not in the Parliament, and the PNN especially will get up and say, oh, yeah, they're not in the Parliament, so, and they're standing up on some order, some number or something.
Yeah. The Parliament, parler, of course, the French expression Parliament come from the verb in French, of course, parler, parler to talk. But of course, in this Parliament, what happens is that depending on who is doing the talking, there are constraints to that. So if the opposition is speaking, when you see either the president of the Senate or the speaker of the lower house of representatives, they are very, of course, very choosy and what I consider to be eclectic, selective, by, of course, allowing certain things to happen on the government side, but not. I suppose it's because the government chooses them, and they are expected, of course, to toe the party line of the PNM, but when they are in that office of objectivity, presumably.
Okay, that's what I wanted to find out.
All right,
okay,
thank you very much, of course, for your call. Yesterday, the people, of course, we had a very hectic day today. Yes, indeed, of course, we changed, of course, and acted impromptuly as well. And I want to commend Andy for taking that initiative because, of course, he said before we go there, and we have some time, and that all these, should I say, patriotic citizens with us, and it has been behove on us, of course, to lead. But what he suggested, and of course everybody agreed that we should visit, of course, the Trinidad Express first, and that was done on either side of, I think it would have been Charlotte Street, where the side gate, if you want to call it that, the western gate of the, or western entrance of Express was descended upon, and we had a wonderful presentation there and encounter with the media at that point. Let's go straight to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Pleasant good night, Mr. Lennox.
Yeah, good night to you.
Tonight, no hiccup so far.
All right, okay.
One thing I want to tell you, and this is going to the opposition. This is for the opposition.
Yes.
We must not support nothing this government bring. We must isolate them until they come out of office. Mr. Lennox, you agree?
Yes, because I see you quoting what Rowley said when he was in opposition.
That's correct.
I see that. So
and we have
do
no,
so in like so,
reason,
but we must do so because
we have more reason and understanding now not to support nothing that they bring and isolate them until they leave office.
yes, indeed.
They lost the mandate of governing this country. This government has lost its way, and I'm saying it as I see it. We have a PNM president. We have a best friend of the Minister of Education in the EBC.
Yes.
And they're weaponizing every independent institution against the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago and their opponents.
Well
so
said.
I have reason to say we must isolate Dr. Rowley and his cabinet until they come out of office.
Magnificent. I will try to get that video to certify what you have just said, because you have the sycophants, the apologists, and those clearly who are in a state of almost perpetual denial will say that Rowley never said that. Well, of course, we are going to prove it as we would normally do on the ground report and right here on the corridor, give instantaneous proof to what they may consider to be something that is controversial that ought not to be, because it is a pellucid and unadulterated fact that Rowley said that.
Thank you, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, indeed. All right. So, people, of course, people are on the button, but I choose this particular video because when we were outside the Tower C of the towers on Wrightson Road, where we have been assembled there, the police, of course, stopped us, and they literally told us that we cannot go further, even though, of course, we argued that it is a public building. Prior to that, of course, whilst Andy and Mikey were, let's say, facing the crowd, the bulk of the crowd encountering, of course, the media as well. I was, of course, on the street, let's put that, on Charlotte Street, talking to a massive group of individuals on the pavement on the western side of Charlotte Street, but outside the gates of the Express. And the police and the police came and they asked, of course, for the organizers, and I introduced myself as one of the organizers, and of course he took notes and the usual thing. But it's very important that we make them know who are the ones that are organizing these, what I consider to be resistance to a very unholy, unhealthy, devious, wicked, diabolical, nefarious, self-serving, greedy, avarice group of individuals that have no place in government, frankly, but have, of course, bulldozed their presence and their stay in office, in spite of the fact that next year is the inevitable year for them to make their departure, and because it is on them, the decision is or must be taken to relieve us of their pernicious presence and their evil presence and their inability to manage the affairs of the country, as we have seen over the last 9 years so far, because of that structure and because we are law-abiding. So I had to tell one of the officers when we reached, of course, Tower C, where we were about to present to the, or should I say, go up to the Office of the Auditor General and to present that letter. I had to tell them that there was no need for us to have any permission from the commissioner to do the exercise that we are doing now. That is to say, to assemble. It is well established in law, and that, of course, we can assemble. And if they only had pulled out a baton, or they tried to, of course, forcibly move us from there, of course, we knew what we had to do. I would have filed myself to, of course, certify and, of course, to get financial compensation in this case. Hopefully, of course, the commissioner or the police officers involved should be paying. That should be the right thing to do. People who, of course, are playing Farmer Oak Dog. You know the story about Farmer Oak Dog. He did his work so well that he had to be shot. Not that those police officers had to be shot, but I make the point merely to demonstrate that there are persons who are prepared because of their political sympathy and because they believe that ad hominemly that is how it should be, and therefore overstate or overemphasize or override fundamental principles that they ought to observe and provide the population with the right to of course, protest in the way that is prescribed in law. We knew that we couldn't march, but what we know as well, we could assemble in a public place. And both the promenade as well as in front of Tower D were public places that we assembled. And of course, I understand the role of the police. The police may feel that they are somehow protecting the public's interests by saying that such a large number of persons descending on a government building may have the potential, of course, to be disruptive and to breach the peace. So that is the principle on which they would have, of course, decided that only 3 of us can, of course, only the organizers, the representative of the crowd, could, of course, see or present that letter to the Auditor General. Well, that is what transpired. But there was, of course, the little to-in and fro-in, and the members of the crowd itself were very, should I say, for want of a better term, upset as to the blockage that the police was prepared, of course, to, and clearly on instructions. But we didn't want, of course, to exacerbate or deteriorate the situation into one of physical, where the police will act in a particular way. We were there in peace. We went there to make certain that we present on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago our disapprobation, our disapproval, our disgust with a government that clearly not only shame or shamelessly in office still and have the audacity and the temerity to act in the way that they have, but to let them know that the population is taking note, and we the people are in our numbers outside of Tower C at the waterfront is conscious, able and willing, and we, of course, we lauded the day that the Lord has made, and we were able, of course, to achieve our objective. So that is what transpired today in a nutshell. Of course, on Saturday, I will, of course, present more details as to some of the individuals and close-ups of some of the individuals. But I want to tell you personally, and let me say, without fear of contradiction and very authoritatively, that I really appreciate the numbers that came out and your discipline and your commitment. And I say to you, well done. You are true patriots. Having said that, let's go to the lines immediately. A pleasant good night. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, Lennox.
Yes.
Yes, pleasant good night to you, Lennox. How
Yes.
are you tonight?
I'm all right. I'm all
I
right.
guess you're
I'm
doing
feeling
good.
very, very enthused with what I saw today and what I experienced today.
What did you see today? What did you experience? The
Repeat that.
march, the thing that you did?
Speak a little louder.
I said, what did you experience? I said, what did you experience today? You showing the video of the police and some people together and stuff. Is that what you
Yeah, but it's much more than that. But I thought I should show both sides of the coin, where we were, of course, stopped, and the mass of people were not able to enter the building. But of course,
Yeah,
as you
see,
know,
this
as I
is
was
exactly
saying
what I thought.
yesterday,
Yeah.
that we got to present, of course, that letter to the on its way to the Auditor General.
Can I ask you something?
Go ahead.
Who is the police who are the police loyal to in this country? Who are they loyal to? The police.
The people?
Are they loyal to this country? No, the police.
The police, of course.
Who are the police loyal to? Who are they fighting for? In your mind, because in my mind, they're not fighting for me. In my mind, the police force is weak. In my mind, the Coast Guard is terrible. In my mind, our army is just a bunch of crooks doing nothing, spending our money, doing pyramid schemes and all that. None of these. That is why our country is going through a dynamic change right now. You know, the United States is down here with some real bad helicopters.
Yes, I am familiar
And,
with an exercise that is taking place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're using it. Yeah, always humanitarian efforts.
Yes.
Humanitarian efforts. That's what they say. They always say that.
Yeah.
But we know why they're here, don't we?
Yes.
Because all these big oil companies are here. That's why we should have a strong military. And I say that because we are no different from Singapore and any other country that were colonized by white people. The United States is building an embassy, and not just in any community. They picked the most racist, segregated club. We have like a club in Columbus, and the Big Bad Club, whatever, in Port of Spain, because that club used to be racist and never allowed Trinidadian Africans or Indians in that club. But the United States paid millions to a private family who were here since colonialism and are still here and are enjoying all the wealth of this country while people live in galvanized houses. So who are the police loyal to? Who is our military loyal to? Who is the army loyal to? And who is this government loyal to? Who are they? Because Kamala said that this whole fiasco thing with the Attorney General's office, no, the Auditor's General office, and the Minister of Finance, that's a big hoax. Because I guess this guy who's a retired judge needs to build a beach house or something. Because he needs extra money. We're wasting taxpayer dollars. All these probes and investigations, and we will never fix roads. You know something, we could march and talk and pray. It's just getting people real boiled up, because I'll tell you something. I shop at Ron and I'm really upset that those boys from Steel that came to my village and robbed a store that hired people from my village and giving them jobs. But the PNM called those guys from Sealand who are robbing people, they call that job creation. They're creating jobs. Because it was windshield, they'll do nothing. They feel drive around and scout people's houses and beat you up. They beat that woman up at Renan Valley. They hit her with the butt of the gun. And she's terrified now, traumatized. And we say that's okay because we're normal. But this is what the PM has done to us. They've reduced us to living in fear. They have infringed our constitutional right to enjoy our property. And I think the police force, I was speaking to a few police officers, and they told me, they said that they're sick of this government, that they're not getting the respect they should get. And maybe we should be like Pakistan, where the military decides what's going on. I don't know, Lennox,
I hear you. I hear
Watching
you.
what's
I
going
hear
on.
you. Those are speculative.
All right, let me let you go.
Yes,
Let me
yes.
let you
In
go.
some instances, of course, it may be impractical, having regard, of course, to our cultural and historical antecedent, colonialism notwithstanding. But she asks a very vital question, which I think is important for both the police and the public. She asks, of course, to whom the police is loyal to. Well, of course, there are several principles, but all of which is in respect of peacetime in particular, and of course, loyalty to the state. The state here, of course, is the entire society, and of course, nestled in a particular principle enshrined, of course, in our constitution. That's the first thing. Of course, there are other, what I consider to be other if not equally important principles. For example, the police motto is to protect and serve with pride, for example. We also have, of course, a situation where a principle can be applied as to say that the person who, of course, pays the piper calls the tune. For example, suggesting that they are of course subjected to the dictates of the executive that are responsible for the paying of a salary, but the executive can change. But let's go straight, of course, to the lines before, of course, we continue. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hey Lennox, pleasant good night to you and everybody on the live. Am I sounding like a robot tonight?
No. And I tested it before I started off, but of course I was able to quickly correct it. So that is not the case
No,
tonight.
the question I asked you if I sounding like a robot.
I know. I'm answering. I'm saying no because I started
Right,
off
okay.
as one. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But to tell you the truth, Lennox, I was real pleased to meet Miss Santa Cruz for the first time, Bellman, and a couple other people. But one thing I was a bit annoyed. I don't know if other people saw it. When he was by the express house, it had two youth men. I noticed them was coming from one end of the street to the next. And one of them had a piece of chicken in her hand. He looking like he wanted to pelt somebody with it. So
Okay.
I watched him. I say, what going on with this youth man, boy? And when he reached closer, he started bawling, people power, and take the piece of chicken and pelt it up in the air, hoping that the chicken will have fallen on somebody's head.
All right.
I said,
I
but what
noticed.
the hell?
I noticed a broad piece of chicken in the road when I was there.
Yes, a youth man
motivating the
felt it in the
people.
air and it
Oh,
fall on the ground.
I see. Okay. I see where it came from. Yeah, I thought it was some dog might have deposited its food in the way of the traffic and so on. But thank you for that clarification. But go ahead.
I said, but what trouble is this I see in here? But I said, this is what them young people in them reach to, by. According to my big cousin, the wolves and vipers. Them ain't understand this fight is for them too, you know. Them come like the lost tribe right now.
So what is your
But
interpretation? Repeat your interpretation as to that gesture that was made. What are you say? What do you mean by they don't understand it's for them? Because if they throw the piece of chicken in the air and then say power to the people, I would on the face of it.
He was mama guy us because when I watch how he was moving, is mama guy
Oh, I see.
us.
Oh,
He pelt the chicken up in the air.
So he was mocking us. He was mocking us then.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, he started say power to the people, power to the people, the chicken, he pelt it up in the air. I stand up and I watch him.
All right.
Because he wasn't standing out like he was one of us.
I see. Okay.
But I stand up and I take him in.
Well, I mean, what transpired here is that it cost him because I'm sure that piece of chicken that I mashed, I'm sure that is a piece of chicken that I mashed. It was a pretty large part of a snack box. So
Yeah,
so that's all right. He paid for his stupidity. If if what your interpretation is what really transpired, because that is a big cost to
right?
him. Yeah.
But I have nothing much to add. All I just wanted to say that I was pleased to be there because me and I tell you, after hearing that young lady talk on the Gong report, the death of her son
Yes.
with the cancer and stuff, that
Right.
thing really hurt me. And
Yes.
somebody else down on my end went through the same thing the day after.
All right.
And that will force me to.
Yes, indeed. Of course. Well, we got cut off there, but let's go straight to this particular caller. Pleasant good night. Please lower the volume on your radio. Good morning. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
With the cancer and stuff, that thing really hurt me. And somebody else don't
Please lower the volume on your radio. You have gotten through, and I'm hearing what we passed. Yes, good. A pleasant good night to you.
Good night, Lennox.
Yes.
How are you going, boy?
Well, I know that you were there in spirit. You are one I know for sure. Could not physically been able to be there, but certainly I know that you're in spirit, and I know your comment tonight will certainly reflect that. But in terms of how I'm feeling, consequential of today's exercise in particular, I'm feeling very elated. I'm raring and willing to go again as I'm renewed in spirit, the body, and physique. Go ahead, my friend.
The fella was kind of right when the man say power to the people, but it's power of the people. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, I hear you.
Power of the people.
All right.
Power of the people against a draconian regime who feel they could do what the heck they want against the. This man coming like the prime minister, steer will go on to the head. He bringing up a woman, right? A public servant, which he have no credentials of doing, misbehaving in public office, doing that on the woman's personal cell phone. Huh? I want to know what he was going to say about that. Because all these infractions, no wonder they didn't want the woman to go and seek a professional legal counsel. They wanted to give she some 2x4 Latin lawyer. You understand?
Yes.
But I'm going to point out all of these improprieties that the
because there were emails and WhatsApp correspondence on the subject, and therefore all of that would form part and parcel of the evidence pool on either side to give clarity. And of course, we know, and my view is I have a bias. I am telling you flat that I don't trust this government. This government cannot be trusted, and I will not be surprised if, like the Vincent Nelson, the debacle or fiasco, but this is another one. And knowing the reputation of this particular Minister of Finance, he interfered, of course, with the governor, the former governor of the central bank. He tried to hoodwink the people into evaluating their own property when it was clearly illegal according to the courts, and we can go on and on. I don't even believe that the essential minimum requirement for the implementation of property tax, 200,000 of the 400,000 persons who own property in the country, I don't believe that they have, of course, submitted evaluation or have been evaluated. Go ahead, my friend. I thought I should make that intervention.
Lennox,
yes.
This man has been hounding this woman over a period of time, you know.
Yes.
And if she have all of those emails and phone records and all of these things, he in deep water.
Not surprised at all. Not surprised.
He's permanent secretary.
Yeah.
He's supposed to go to the permanent secretary to talk to she call change office. We don't call it one permanent. Private phone number. Yeah, and bullying the woman. Oh gosh. Listen, I hope she get take to the cleaner, but.
Well, I think the reception she got today, reception in the sense that whilst we were in her office, you can't talk reception here, but I think the support that she got today, I think, is motivation. Of course, you know, there are other considerations, 30 pieces of silver, for example, and I mean it in no derogatory way, but of course she has to consider her own future, having been, of course, reached at this stage, and whether or not pension and other factors, monetary in nature, were to the sacrifice of giving up in order for her to get her way on principle. But we'll see how that pans out.
Lennox, she just got this job under this president, you know, that inaugurated her, you know. But she didn't kangaroo, but she did for the job. So she's not too long reaching this work. And this man doing this sort of nonsense since 2023 when she arrived, because she was asking questions from then and now. You see what he think he defend, right? But he feels he's a full cook. Right? Study the only important day for able to feel something of a significance is budget day. When he could go up and crow like a fool, but he's really a short phone cup, not at all one. But yeah, that is the only bragging I see him is when he come in Parliament to go and talk about budget. And I tell you, the day you carry out a forensic investigation into the Ministry of Finance, you're going to see all the shenanigans take place there, and people, all these figures this man being handing over and giving people over the years is a bunch of big stinking nasty lies. Before I go, I see they have 7 days to deal with the commissioner of police, right? And there ain't nothing from nobody. It seems that they're gonna reinstate she for next
all indications are particularly the way how the minister Hines have been crowing that somehow they got some kind of hollow victory, when in fact, of course, he should be seen it as settling the matter as to the role of the cabinet in the renewing of a commissioner's should I say appointment when they have already been given the nod by the Police Service Commission. That's all that ruling said. But they will try to propagandize it and to try to deflect it as some power play on their part, and maybe that will encourage them to become more and more obnoxious. But the longest rope has an end, and the end, I'm sure, is nigh for them. 2025 must come.
Well, I want the people to know if they reinstate as the commissioner of police for yet another year for the people of this country, do what she just tell her to go and do. Pray. Because that is all you got to hold on to. When these criminals on them start to run amok, because under she tenureship, it was the worst. And if she come back there, it going to be worse around.
And according to the law, I learned it during the course of these discussions and revelations, that of course she has literally 3 strikes. So this would be the second one, and then there's another term that, according to law, she can be reinstated. But of course, for 3 year stints, so it means therefore the third one will be, of course, when the UNC is in government. So thank God for that. So we can think futuristically of not having such a poor performer in the office of Commissioner of Police. I think that is something that we should relish and we should accept as a fact. And of course, having regard to all of the what I consider to be the debilitating and the disappointments of this particular Commissioner of Police, we should hold no punch. But I want to get back, of course, to the question of the role of the police asked by the first caller. And of course, I did talk about, of course, who pays the piper, of course, calls the tune. I reached there. But let's go straight to the lines. We give you, of course, all the time the opportunity to be ahead of me, so to speak, in order to get your views. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Pleasant good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night.
Short and sweet.
Yes.
This is for the Minister of Finance. Great is not the PNM. Great is the truth, and the truth will prevail.
Yes. Selwyn Kojo did, in fact, clarify that and said it came from a Greek or a Roman expression, and Eric William adapted it to mean great is the PNM and so on and so forth. But of course, we know he's neither great. He wasn't great either. And it was a bunch of opportunistic political parasites, as far as I am concerned, who are power mongers. And as it is said, power intoxicates and make men giddy. And all of them, especially Rowley's crew, are drunken with power. They are inebriated. But there's also a saying, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Well, these fellas and women are absolutely corrupt. Absolutely. But let me get back, of course, to the role of the police. So we have established that they are supposed to protect and serve with pride. We established that there are rules as far as the police service, let's say, regulations are concerned. There is, of course, the role of the Police Service Commission as well in terms of the upper echelons, commissioner and deputy commissioners of police, and how that happens. And of course, the extension, we know now from the court decision that the cabinet can, if a person is in fact in the office, can extend, of course, their appointment by at least on three occasions. Each one comprising 3 years, but there are other fundamental principles. Who is a police, for example? Well, I like to give two fundamental definitions for a police. A police is supposed to be an ordinary person like you and I, with special powers. An ordinary person with special powers, according, of course, to the regulations, right? So that from that, you would appreciate that you can make, that is why you can make a citizen arrest, because because the police is an ordinary person with special powers. You cannot, for example, carry a gun, but if you see someone that is infringing the criminal law or doing something wrong, you can, of course, effect a citizen arrest. So that is where that principle comes from, or is extended to. But there's another more fundamental and specific one, and that is a police officer is a executive officer who, in law, is responsible for his or her behavior. Let me repeat. A police officer is an executive officer who, in law, is responsible for his or her behavior. In other words, and I like to use that latter one to tell police officers that if it is your senior, whether it's a superintendent, the inspector, even the commissioner of police, instructs you to do something that is illegal, that you know is illegal, remember, the principle is that you, if you would have conducted yourself in that way, and you are brought before the courts, you alone, according to that principle, is responsible for either defending or approving that particular conduct. So if the inspector or the superintendent that is your superior doesn't like a person, and they tell you just so without evidence, without, of course, cause, without any cause of action, and you go and do what the officer says because he's using you to pursue an act that he prefer not to, but use you as the fall guy, so to speak, and you go and do it, you are responsible in law for your action. In other words, you cannot say, you don't have the excuse that your superior, your superintendent, your inspector, etc., told you to do it. No. That is a clear-cut case. But I thought it was important to express that and to let the police know, every single police officer, that you are an executive officer who in law is responsible for your conduct. That is why, of course, police officers will go to the court and say what they did. And sometimes, of course, what happens is that they get on as though they are a tag team, and somebody will make an arrest, but somebody else will, of course, present the matter in court as the, of course, as the complainant, as they like to say in the criminal context. So I thought it was important, of course, to clear up that since the caller asks the role of the police officer. What's the general role? It's really to protect the state, and the state comprises, of course, the people in the state. In the state here does not mean politicians, prime minister, etc. It means all of us. And a fundamental regular principle is the breach of the peace potential or real. So that the role of the police today would have been, of course, if they suspect that there would have been a breach of the peace, somebody getting on unruly, somebody, of course, using obscene language, somebody disobeying instructions, regardless of how draconian it is. Then, of course, there are ways, of course, to respond to that. Either you take the damn police to court in a civil lawsuit to show where they have emasculated, and it is not uncommon for that to happen when the police makes an arrest, and the arrest is a false one. Many of them find themselves in a court of law answering the civil charge, the civil matter of course, false imprisonment, and we can go on and on. So history and the courts and case law are replete with instances like that. So I just want to make it clear and to clarify. That being as it may, I want, of course, to bring to your attention another matter. And I think it is more hilarious than anything else. Some time ago, and I am doing so to emphasize the level of buffoonery, the level of nincompoopness, the level of asinine and inane elements that we have purported to be minister and part of this government, inclusive of the Prime Minister himself. You will hear them talk in glowing language, and one will have to conclude that is any port for a storm. They song puerile, they song infantile, they song totally and absolutely out of any kind of comprehensive analysis or ability. I'm talking about comprehension here, the ability, of course, to discern and to analyze. That is how they come across. And as the saying goes, not only does the Lord move in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform, so all of us will see them for who they are, a bunch of fools. But of course, you'll also understand that he moves in mysterious way in the sense that who the gods wish to destroy, they first send them mad. And certainly, they song and act mad. And as I said, intoxicated with power. And all of them are drunk. They are inebriated. And so you have these very regular these days opportunities to observe them as a total, what I consider to be not just nincompoops, not just asinine specimen of inhumanity, and not just persons who clearly have lost their grounding as far as rationality is concerned, but they engage in activities that are unprecedented. Let's go straight to the line. Let's go straight. Let me see. All right, let me take it here. I have both phones working, one on the system and one handheld. And sometimes I get carried away and forget that I have one on the system. But that being as it may, a pleasant good night. Welcome.
Hi, Lennox. It's me again.
Yes.
Thanks for answering that question about the police.
Yes.
You're a bit long-winded, but that's okay. I appreciate it, and you did a good job. Actually, I don't think the police, how you describe the duties of the police, I don't think they're really doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. We know in practice that is not the case.
You know.
Yeah. You're quite right. Very good observation.
So we live on a tropical island, right? Surrounded by beautiful waters. We have a beautiful mangrove, forests, mountains. We have everything that anybody, and we have birds, we have trees, we have all kinds of creatures that could attract foreigners from all over the world because our birds are the best. Why do we have a zoo? Why do we need a zoo? Why do we have that Empire Valley Zoo that is getting $56 million for an upgrade? Because the zoo really is like a habitat, what do you call it? Like a habitat for humanity kind of thing where animals are rescued because of illegal trafficking. Every time we find animals in people's homes because they illegally brought them in because they want to sell them, and the police intervene, they send all those animals to the Emperor Zoo. We need to be.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry about that. Just was putting something on the system. Yeah.
Okay, we just need to be a little bit more proactive and not just build bigger zoos, but find ways to return animals to their natural habitat. I've never been to the zoo in Trinidad, and I will never visit the zoo because I do not want to see animals caged. And I think people who come to this country as tourists would like to sit quietly on a rowboat or something and go down the river, and whatever, like Torrey River, and just watch all the birds and enjoy it. And so I think that the people who run that Emperor Valley Zoo, it's a money-making machine. Because every year they complain about the noise from the fireworks and all kinds of stuff, and the animals get traumatized, and they're living in a cage. So all those animals have trauma because they're going crazy. So I just think it's a waste of time to spend $56 million on the zoo when we have people who don't even have water. So I'm pissed off. I feel like we have enough natural habitat where we could invite the tourists to guide to villages and watch our natural villages in their natural habitat, and stop and eat some food and drink something, and move on and go to see the birds. You don't want to go Port of Spain in a stuffy valley, in a stuffy car, and walking and no water and watching animals caged that are unhappy. That's like the worst thing to do. Anyway, that's my comment.
Yes, yeah, no problem, no problem.
I want to say about that. Okay.
Yes. Okay then. Well, you know the environmentalists and the animal rights advocate will certainly take a particular position on these matters. But my personal view, and I think it is shared by a large cross-section of the population, that a zoo in any country, and of course usually nestled in the capital city of a country, attracts, or should I say, maintain or take care of animals that are exotic, meaning that not natural to the flora and fauna, or the fauna and flora of course, a particular country or region. And so for domestic consumption, a young person can go there, in the case of Trinidad and Tobago, and see what a lion is like, what a camel is like, for example, and just join some references. Of course, modern technology, and that is where maybe there is probably a zoo may be an obsolete thing, idea now, because of course modern technology will put you any part of the world where these animals are in their natural habitat. But of course there is a dichotomy, there's a difference between, of course, seeing and almost touching as opposed to a video or a picture. So I suppose that will counter the argument for getting rid of zoos because across the globe, simply because it is not the same, a picture is not the same, a video is not the same as, of course, actually seeing it live, smelling some of the, should I say, the odor that emanates, some of the fecal material, or the, should I say, the waste that the animal will produce, etc. All of that part and parcel of the human experience. And then therefore, from that perspective, the argument is that zoos are relevant for the particular society or community, as the case may be. Of course, not human, but animal rights advocates will say, let them all go, let them remain in their natural habitat, etc. So there is arguments to and fro. I thought it was important, of course, to treat with that. But let me get back, of course, to the And therefore, in our case, of course, having used the savannah for so many years to during special occasions, Christmas, Independence, etc. And of course, you have these fireworks taking place, and the scaring of the animals and so on. Not just those in the zoo, but all over the country. Animal rights activists are saying, well, you should ban all of these cultural constructs that have been infringing on the right of animals to share Mother Earth just as human beings. But that's another argument. Let me get back, of course, to the whole question of the buffoonery of ministers in this cabinet assembled by Dr. Rowley, a total rapist, I must say, and pedophile, and therefore should be given no credence and should have no credence. And in the next coming months or so, we must, of necessity, led by myself, that is why I gave the police my name today, to make them know that it is Lennox Smith that is, of course, part of the organizing of resistance. And I want to tell people one time, these exercises are not, let me repeat, these exercises are not in vain. You see, as I've always said, I prefer to see the glass half full or three-quarter full than to tell me or to see the glass quarter empty or half empty, and you're focusing on the unproductivity of a half empty glass, when in fact it is half full, and therefore you can, of course, water the plants, and you could water yourself, you could drink some. And therefore, from that perspective, we can argue now, suppose the glass was empty, you wouldn't get the benefit of the water. You wouldn't get the benefit of the plants being nurtured. So from that perspective, you will understand. So let me lift that analogy and put it in what transpired today. Lift it and deposit it in what transpired today. What transpired today is a clarion call, 1, and 2, a pellucid insistence that the Rowley administration cannot get its way in totality. And if I'm to use the water scenario that I just gave you, it means practically that if no one did anything, let me repeat, if no one did anything, Rowley and they will believe as most despotic and criminalistic, as well as those who are prepared to undermine our democracy, steal from our treasury and our banks, and abuse their office. They would say that the people like it so. And don't tell me you don't understand what I'm talking about, because it was Imbert who said in no uncertain terms that when they raise gas prices effectively by lowering, of course, the subsidies that they said that they will never touch. He said they ain't riot yet, and he will do it again. Why you think he said that? And why you think that Rowley had to come back afterwards and explain and say that Trinidad and Tobago's government, the Rowley administration policy is not, of course, determined by violence? Why you think he said that? After Imbert made that what I consider to be awful, putrid, asinine, dotish, corrosive, and cesspool of nonsense talk and insult to the population. So much so that he had to come in the parliament and apologize for the statement that he made. And clearly, the PNM only did that, and Rowley only did that simply because their political stocks were being reduced. And so it was to salvage their political, what I consider to be currency, that clearly has been depreciated and is now down to zero in 2024. So do not for one moment, you see, I've listened to the arguments to and fro, how Rowley and they cannot be removed, and how they will not listen, and how, of course, it is difficult and people are getting frustrated. Don't ever be weary. Jonah was in the belly of what? Of a whale. Noah preached to people for decades about the coming flood. And don't talk for Moses. He toiled and toiled and toiled. But at the end of the day, good will prevail, must prevail, and did in fact prevail. Do not waste time about looking at the glass half empty or quarter empty. No. Whenever we engage in exercises like what we did today, we are telling the government, why you think the police was out there asking questions? Because the government is interested in, of course, those persons who are prepared, of course, to sacrifice time, sacrifice probably a day work, sacrifice even, as one protester told me today, they had a medical appointment, protest that, and postpone that in order, of course, to be there today. And you cannot glibly and superficially and disrespectfully, I should say, dismiss that. No, that has value, tremendous value. In fact, for me, it is invaluable. You see over 400 persons and then push back 1, 2, 3, and 4 thousands of persons. Brave the weather, brave tear gas, brave the COVID regulations, put their lives on the line to preserve our democracy and to let Rowley and they know and understand there are people in this country who are not prepared to engage or to tolerate or to countenance or to support that level of savage government and governance. That is what this is about. So not for one moment, I will be convinced. In fact, when anybody tells me that that's a waste of time, I am now motivated, as you should be. You should be now motivated. It means, therefore, you are getting to them because you don't know whose agenda they are pursuing. What you know for sure is that since they are of the view that it is a waste of time, it means, therefore, it is not the agenda of the people and the right of you and I to protest a government that is despicable, that is despotic, that shows autocratic tendencies. And if you give them a chance, they will, of course, ride roughshod over all and, of course, manipulate the system, financial, economic, social, psychological, and we can go on, as, of course, we have been unveiling and experiencing in recent times, whether it be in the medical field, whether it be, of course, among our children, youths, whether it be, of course, crime and criminality, whether it be the economy, and, of course, the most recent of which is that of mismanagement and, of course, transparency lacking and accountability as far as the attack on the Auditor General is concerned. Let's not waste time. It's about time we get serious and know that those who are skeptical and those who are recalcitrant and those who are timid and those who are holding up their handbrakes and attempting to move forward, we must leave them behind. We must leave them behind. As one young man said to me about Heinz in Laventille, as Heinz, of course, on his billboards will talk about vote for Heinz for a better mind. Well, I think that soldier, he's a former soldier now, a young man, came to me and said, you vote for Hines to stay behind. Let me repeat. The soldier fella said, vote for Hines to stay behind a Lavantillian. And today, I am very, very, very pleased and honored that a young man who has retired now from the army, but he was there. He called in on the ground report this morning and said, Mr. Smith was my teacher. And when I saw him today, he didn't know how emotive I was. He didn't know how pleased I was. He didn't know that I'm a fella, in spite of my Teflon outlook, that I will, of course, move to tears when I see people like those who, of course, have tasted the nectar of success by simply being in an educational program or institution, which of course are people like myself who have made their contribution and contributed to the kind of individuals that they have grown up to be, where of course they are making their contribution not only to themselves but to their family and their community, as this young man has. And of course he has a problem which of course together we will solve. He brought it to me today. But of course, he was spectacular. He was splendid. He was superb on the radio today. And I want to encourage him and others to continue in that vein, because the country you rescue, the country you save, the future that you would have carved is the one that you yourself would have contributed to. Let's go straight, of course, to the line. We have another line. Professor, good night. Professor, good night. Yes, you are on the corridor transformation nightly program.
Okay. Well, I was there today.
Okay.
It was very good.
Thank you.
Okay, but then I couldn't stay for the whole thing because I wanted to catch the water taxi to come back down.
Oh, I see.
So when I reach home now, I just kind of drop on the bed and I see, I was kind of sleepy, but I get up in time to catch it.
All right. Okay. All right. Good.
You're talking about a half full glass or three-quarter full glass or whatever.
Yes.
What about when the glass reach almost down to the bottom? You don't think it's time that you should do something to fill it back?
Well, yes. Well, even the half full glass, you have to do something to get it filled, because the objective is to fill. So whether it is below, whether it's below half or not, that the principle is that see it in that vein, and then of course contribute to achieving to fill it.
Yeah. So what happened is that this government took the whole water out of the glass.
They attempted so to do, yeah. Yeah, they attempted so to do, yeah.
So the glass empty now, and they catch yourself in real problems.
Yes. I hear you.
The thiefing won't stop either, because the glass empty and it's still thiefing.
Yes.
So I ended up in this problem today, thiefing. What I want to say too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Also too is Eric Williams wrote some books, and one of them was Capitalism and Slavery.
Yes.
Right? But I read the book.
Okay.
And, the book, you have to have a dictionary with you while you're reading it to see what he was talking about.
All right.
But he talked all the thing about slavery, how slavery was, the masters kill all of them through the Atlantic slave trade, kill people, do all kind of nonsense. And what is contrary about that whole situation is that Williams was a very good historian,
Yes.
but he couldn't run the country because, in the book Capitalism and Slavery, almost to people could ask me if I right or wrong or whatever, but when I read it, right, in that book, when you read it, yes, he did all the scenario about capitalism and slavery and what the white man did, right? But towards the last chapter, he have a chapter on saints.
And so, in my mind,
Uh-huh. Oh boy, you get cut off there, boy. Let me see if I could. Let me see if I could disconnect this one. Oh boy, I don't know what to do here now. This is not my phone, people. It's another phone that we use as well. Notice this one is black. The one I use is well, light green. Are you still there, caller? Caller, are you still there? Hello?
Yes, Lennox. Powerful outpouring today, boy.
Yes. Thank you very much. Yes.
We should have come up there and be on the ground too, but you know, we had some work that we had also done.
All right. Very good.
Concerning the same legal battle that fighting down here for the people in the area and that they already recognize it. But when we finish, you know what we're talking about.
Yes, indeed. I will call you after. You know my hours is 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning. The job has to be done. Well, you have to do what you have to do because you have a time constraints and you have to meet it. So you have to burn the midnight oil or burn the candle at both ends. Yes, indeed. Oh boy, like you get cut off, boy. Hello? Something is always buttoning on this phone. And frankly, I don't know how to use it. Hello? All right, so it appears, of course, I think I get the essence of that particular call. But of course, people, as we said, that half full, the objective is to fill the glass. And that is what it is all about. I've seen a call coming in on it. All right, good. Okay, let me just take this call. Sorry about that. And another call just butting just so you know how it is. It's something like the glass of water. Yes.
yeah. All right, you hear me clear now?
Yeah, very clear, yes.
All right. Well, what I was saying is that when you reach that chapter on saints,
Uh-huh.
right? The man talk about saints in the book. To me,
Yeah.
he turn around to be contrary because you know you adopt a system, right? That now you're running Trinidad and you no. What I'm saying actually is that the man was a good historian, yes.
Yes.
You know, to do all that research, but to run a country he was very contrary because when you have people like O'Halloran and all of them control, what he used to do is move them from one ministry to the next.
Yeah.
Right? Now we couldn't interfere with the O'Halloran because the system would not allow him to do that. So he was very contrary. This is why Robinson and took a position on him that you cannot run a country this way because you're contrary, and that whole system is what we seeing played out today with Rowley, and they just they have no ideas of how to move the country forward.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't want to take too long, but I will send the pictures for you.
Okay.
That on the that I took.
Yes. With respect to some problems in San Fernando, yes. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay then.
Okay. So
Yes.
I don't want to stay because I know you have other callers.
Oh yes. Quite a lot. All right. Thank you for that contribution. But you see, there is the principle of course, in order for you to know where you're going or where you're at, in fact, you must know where you come from. And of course, what the caller simply did was to, of course, let us give us a brief as to where we came from. But let's go straight to the lines. Oh boy. All right, let me take it here, boy. I don't take it here. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night to you.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night.
I'm joining you a little bit late tonight because we had no electricity for about 2 hours.
Oh, right.
And
Okay.
when it came back, it took a little while.
Yes.
Lennox,
Hey.
today I want to congratulate all those people that came out today.
Oh, yes.
Lennox, it was, we always say it could have been better. But I saw some new faces today that I was pleasantly surprised, because a lot of people didn't know, they didn't know who I was,
Yes.
you know, and came and introduced themselves to me and whatever. So that's how I knew we had a lot of new faces.
Yes.
You know, and it was a nice surprise. You know, I'm sorry I could not have stayed later.
Yes,
but
you
know,
explained
the
about the traffic issue and so on. Yes, yes.
From the time I reached Santa, yeah, Lennox, Santa Cruz taxi stand, and I got into a taxi. I asked the driver, say, keep that seat for me. I'm coming, I'm going to get bread, because the bakery right here. And from the time I sat down, the school children started flowing into the taxi stand.
Wow.
I said, well, that was good timing.
Yes.
That was really good timing. That you all had made all that wrong. But it was really
Yeah, because we
nice
reached close to 4 o'clock. In fact, I reached late for my son.
It could have been better. But we are thankful for small mercies.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, we are thankful for small mercies. And who don't want to come out, that's them. Let them sit down here behind their keyboards and let them just talk.
Yeah.
Because we are a nation of talkers and not walkers. Right? Let them go. It always got to come out.
Yes.
Lennox, something has been weighing on my mind for a little now. I have been raising this issue when I saw this, I think it was about 3 years ago. $1 million was allocated to fix the zoo.
Right.
Lennox, that is, I want to find the right word, but I want to be respectful, right? Now, you want to tell me that they couldn't fix those 2 schools in Laverton and stick at St. Philip's and the next one?
Yeah,
St. Philip's is on the hill by the flyover.
Yeah, Piccadilly and St. Philip's.
Yeah.
In fact, I thought that Piccadilly. I thought that Piccadilly, yeah.
Right. Lennox, you want to tell me 9 years in office, because the partnership had carded that to fix to build over that school, and then they came and they voted. They didn't like the UNC, they didn't like the pound, and they get him plenty now. Imagine Kamala building a hospital for children, but you building a zoo, right? You building a zoo. That make a lot of sense. And 106 schools Kamala left in various, some were completed in various stages of construction. How many of those schools did they fix? I know for I can say for 1 or 2 is the Sour Boys and all those children being put on buses and going up to Turnapuna every morning and coming back down in the evening. Well, they finally finished it when people were vandalizing
the inconveniences that it would have caused.
I can't
has been
say
abated,
for any other school. Yeah, you want to tell me, Lennox, and that is not going to stop at 57 million, you know, Lennox. That is going to climb, knowing the track record of Garcia and them, knowing the track record. You want to tell me they could, and the thing is, Lennox, I don't even think that money was allocated to fix it through itself. That is, they're building a cinema, they're building some of the in between the Lady Chancellor Hill and that road there, and the entrance to the zoo. Because you remember there was a big pavilion there, right?
Yes.
And they take that whole thing now and they're building this, I call it a complex, Lennox,
Okay.
sorry?
Yes.
And you have children suffering to those schools and those that Lennox.
Yes.
They really don't know. I don't want to do anything in this country, you know, Lennox. And the next thing, Lennox, before I go, I want to say, this thing with the Attorney General, IMBAC, and the Auditor General is getting curiouser and curiouser. And I think that is one of the reasons that Rowley left the country. Because when Rowley went to celebrate, the man already passed, you know. Oh, what he going there to do? What did he go there to
I got wind of that today. Yeah, I got wind of that today. I thought it strange, frankly, but not surprising. Strange, but not surprising. They always engage in something sinister. There's always something sinister about all they're doing, purported to be in the public interest.
Yeah, but it ain't gonna work this time.
Of course. Yes. All right.
But it wouldn't work this time, Lennox.
Yes. Well,
because God warriors are putting on their knees for them.
Yes.
You hear? It's disgusting.
Yeah.
He go on, he ain't say a word, and he leave him but in the mess.
Yeah, the roosters are coming home. The roosters are coming home.
And they're hearing, analyst is not telling the truth. Yes. He's not telling the truth about giving him some letter or something. But it will eventually come out because the Auditor General is hanging on. She's not letting go. She's not letting go. And that is what she telling him, but writing and telling us, see what you can do to help the government. No, that's wrong.
So we have people power, we have woman power.
Mischief in public office.
Yes. Woman power and people power. Can't be that combination.
You what?
Woman power and people power. You can't beat that combination. Yes.
You can't beat that combination. Lennox, that's for them. That she's not going to be intimidated, and she's going to deal with them. Lennox, today was a lovely day.
Oh, yes.
It was a really nice day. Gathering, you know, an organized gathering. It's twice as much, you know, but it was nice. And I thank everybody that came out today.
Yes.
Lennox, you take care and have a good night.
Same to you, my dear. Same to you. Of course, that was our external correspondent, Ms. Santa Cruz. Of course, giving her own assessment as to what transpired today, but of course, bringing some very specific pieces of information as to the continued unrelenting shenanigans of this administration. Dr. Rowley, of course, unnecessarily going to utilizing our money to go to Ghana, a country, of course, that is in the jaws of an IMF program. Let me repeat, Ghana is in the jaws of an IMF program. So I don't know if he's going there to find out how to take Trinidad and Tobago into the IMF. I don't know. But of course, that is what has happened with that particular country. They had the second tranche of, I think, 60 billion of their currency that was allocated to them for structural support. Their currency having collapsed, and a number of other social, should I say, derivation from that, because clearly when that happens, the current administration is usually blamed for the unfortunate, if not the orchestrated, or the, should I say, the mismanagement, as we are seeing, of course, unfolding with this administration. She went on, of course, to repose her confidence in the Auditor General. I too, describing it as woman power, and of course, today we exhibited what? People's power. That being as it may, let me go back, of course, to what I consider to be the asinine, almost the afterbirth. That is, of course, this administration. But you see, of course, those three faces coming up there. Well, I want to tell you, it's the three blind mice. I put the three blind mice music behind it simply because here it is, in a level of desperation, that green, I don't know, looking like a sophisticated latrine. Let me repeat. That structure you see in the back of them, looking like a sophisticated latrine. Well, three of them went to open that and call it a transit hub. Yes, you hear what I say? They call it a transit hub. And these three big men, like they had nothing to do. And guess where it is located? Just after the corner of Passy Street and the Eastern Main Road, where nobody stops. No vehicle comes and go. Someone taxis pass it with a view. People don't even stay. And if you go there now, you will see, as I predicted when it first, I think last year, early last year, that they cut the ribbon to open that nonsense. Abuse of over $100,000. That. Three of them, three big men. Hines from Lavantil West, Scotland from Port of Spain South, and Leonce from Lavantil East Mover went to open that. But do not take my word for it. Listen to what actually is the case. Did
you see such a sight in your life as three blind mice? As three blind mice. La 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 la.
I mean, it is just ridiculous. Yes, three blind mice. Understand why we could have more respect for them? Why should big men subject themselves? That's never
three blind mice. See how they run. See how they run. They run after the farmer's wife who cut off their tails with a carving knife. Did you see such a sight in your life as three blind mice? As three blind mice.
Ceremony. Blind mice. Fools.
Three blind mice. Three blind mice. See how they run. See how they run. They run after the farmer's wife who cut all their tails with a carving knife. Did you see such a sight in your life as three blind mice? As three blind mice.
Yes, people. I mean, I've had enough. And they don't know when to stop, you know.
I will tell you, like she love me, like she love me, no, no, no.
And
because she knows that I love women, she thinks I love any woman. I have taste. And when I don't take on, she carries back. The lady is naked all alone. And she's scratching and bothering the real.
Look at this ugly son of a gun. I'm sorry I'm not on Prince Street tomorrow. And if you come there, go really use the adjective to describe and replace the son of a gun. What is consistent and pellucid is that he's ugly. But he wants to pretend as though he doesn't have a face that only a mother would love. He want to pretend that. And will go all over the place because he probably has a degree. And being, of course, a prime minister, abusing office. Looking to abuse female and believing that somehow that female attracted to that. A face only a mother would love. But let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night.
Good night again, Lennox.
Go ahead.
Lennox, you gotta do something about this system. We're breaking up plenty. You didn't hear the contributions split.
I'm seeing it looking good on my monitoring system. All right, go ahead.
I feel the jamming here, you know. The jamming here because
A long time ago, because of course, as you know, they hacked the original page. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have a problem at all. Basically, the Prime Minister going to Ghana. He going to bring the he going to bring the shipment of
what he promised early in his first term?
Yeah, well, he had to follow through. He had to bring the yam for the people. And they build a zoo, you say? You say they build you're going to build a zoo. The first creature they should put in the zoo as an endangered species is in bird. Put he in a cage by himself.
The entire PNM.
And put here like
the entire PNM youngster. And of course, syndicate, mafia syndicate, entire. Go ahead.
Right. Ember is the main attraction because of him. The country will face severe hardship in the future. All the misappropriation, misfits, and wrongdoings that he do as a minister of finance, it will come back and bite you behind. Have a good day.
Yes, indeed. And I wanted to make a point. I'm glad that the caller mentioned it, with respect, of course, to the zoo and the construction of some physical edifice. But I want to tell you, I had to add that to the construction of community centers, the construction of libraries, and now the construction of that facility. You see, because you are correct. These are unnecessary. These are otious structures as compared, of course, to the need to make certain that those children get a meal until, of course, school closes and their assistance with their books and computer-oriented devices, smart devices. And, of course, making sure that the country has a network of accessibility to internet. Those must be added, or that zoo construction must be added to the plethora of what? Yeah. Of resources that could only be designated or described as slush funds for election purposes and for the completion of Balize House. It dawned on me, why would you engage in something that is so unnecessary? Yes, so they will be able to get to their kickbacks. These people know no boundary for the attempt to raid the treasury of the country. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
A pleasant good night to you, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, good night to you as well.
Good night to you.
Yes.
And to you, Mr. Lennox, and all the listeners.
Yes.
And these slave catchers.
Yes.
So let them know. Now, Mr. Lennox, the trip to Ghana, right? I wonder, it is that there is a buyout from a company, an energy company in Ghana, which will be coming to take the refinery because they had laundered enough money to Republic. I want them to prove me wrong, right?
Yes.
That they do investment in Ghana, right? And I want to know if it's for the state in the name of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So if it's now that the Ghana energy sector is the register of business down there and coming out to take the refinery, because you see it that they say they have paid $7 billion on the books of Petrotrin, on Heritage and Petrotrin debt. So Heritage now came back some of the assets, right?
Yes.
So we catch in there a thief and the club was he thief so much. When the Auditor General had the discussion, the discrepancy, that if you show an increase in your revenue for the fiscal year in question, your deposit to the Heritage and Stabilization Fund supposed to be 60% of what you get, and is not showing the amount of the 60% reflected. So where is the money? So I want to know if that went on by the shopping mall, or if that is going back into Amsterdam, right? And we are under the freedom of information. We have to find out that if this Prime Minister, Keith Rowley, is investing state money and saying it's for the state, and like how you have one House of Assembly chairman, secretary, take $24 million and say he was invested for the future of the Begonians, a sum of $24 million. So because if the United States currency and investment could question him, and he went to Barbados and had the Forum of Financiers saying that the financial institution, that if we as small state invested our monies, why this must be questioned? I, at the head of the state, is investing for the country. And when they call him up to America with the FIU or the Finance Intelligence in America, so we put the dots together. So until India can stop the thieving and explain, you can see that now they want to politicize and say is a UNC appointee. But I come back to Kewal Singh, Faris Awari, right? And this Sipasan. And the weeks. Have a good night, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I want to commend you people out there for your perspications, for your sagaciousness, for your alertness, and for your research, obviously, to share and to generate the variety. There's no monotony here. The variety, and to, in the process, enhance all of us education, because I learn from you, you learn from me, and the process of edification and not just planning and development, but advancement continues in an environment like this, democratic, but you're right, of course, to express yourself, but do so, of course, decently. I want to thank you because I have not evaluated, for example, how the last caller addressed the matter, but it is possible. Everything is on the table with this government. There's always something sinister about what they are doing. He Rowley, when he came back and was confronted with the fact that he traveled more than Kamala Prasad Bisesa, both in terms of cost and the frequency to the taxpayers, he then insisted that he will be going to Ghana because he was invited. We learned now that it was, and I want to be generous, it was an innuendo, was a half-truth. Because the activity for which we assumed he would have been going for would have included a particular banquet for which he could not have arrived on time for. And then, of course, we know that there is a branch of the Republic Bank in Ghana. Lee Hunt was the man that was the manager there at the time, and that is a story by itself. But the fact of the matter is, Lee Hunt ended up being, of course, a Minister of Public Utilities, and then now is part of the Ansa Makal group. So there may well be some nexus between Lee Hunt's not returning to that bank and the shenanigans of this government, and that bank that is operating in Ghana, and the fact that Ghana is operating under an IMF arrangement, IMF facility, why would Rowley want to, of course, attach Trinidad and Tobago's possible fortunes or present circumstance with a country clearly from having to go to the IMF as a contemporary failure? Why? But we have a bank there, and there is, of course, a talk, not impossible with this administration, and having regard to the fact that people like Noel Garcia and others, when the UNC would have gotten into government, you would see them fly out to Ghana. And I think Eric Williams, not the late Eric Williams, but certainly the former Minister of Energy, I think he is somewhere also vacillating between Ghana and another East African country. Ghana, of course, is a West African country. Understand? And therefore there is this nexus, there is this link that because of the greed and the efforts of this government to empty the treasury in their own favor, the possibility exists. And I will not be surprised if, of course, the so-called investor that they're talking about is coming from Ghana under some sweetheart deal. I will not be surprised. As indeed, the entire Petrotrin was destroyed as a consequence of Rowley being accused and at the center, the epicenter of the fake oil matter that has resulted in his friend getting a benefit as opposed to paying the price for exposing the citizens of this country, taxpayers, to that level of iniquity, conspiracy, to defraud and to mismanage and to acquire ill-gotten gains. Ill-gotten gains. Understand what is happening, people. So thank you very much, caller Faizabad, for that. And I'm certainly going to be looking into it to see where the nexus is and what role Ghana will be playing, whether directly or indirectly, by elements coming out of Ghana, having regard to the fact that Ghana ought not to be a place to invest at this time, under IMF, of course, control. The domestic politics there is a very, very volatile as well.
Sucking from the nipple of the
Listen to this despicable man, and he want to pretend to be prime minister.
Coming with a coattail telling you, vote for Kamala. That
This
is
ugly
tantamount
son of a
to
gun.
hugging up a porcupine to go to bed. To do this to you. To rape us with an umbrella. And worse, to open the umbrella after. Of course, like a woman. You gotta groom her every day.
Listen to this ugly man. But tomorrow, of course, not tomorrow, of course, on Saturday, we will continue with this fella who, of course, lacking pulchritudinous qualities. And that pulchritudinous means beauty. Lacking that. Ugly like sin. He himself being sin. And, of course, pretending to be some kind of demigod. Half human, half God. When, in fact, he's a total and absolute rapscallion. An ugly son of a gun, and of course someone who has raped, and of course is most despicable in terms of the most heinous act that could be committed against children and women, are talking about pedophilism. And here it is, the PNM has conjured that, and therefore we know what we have to do by 2025 is to eliminate from the political sphere of this country and the consciousness of the people, the PNM as an institution that has long outweighed its usefulness and therefore must be relegated to the dustbin of history. People, of course, we go back to where we started, and that is at the waterfront where the letter to the Auditor General was delivered, and of course it was done in spectacular and supreme confidence that these incremental but a solid contribution to eroding the credence and the relevance and the presence of the PNM and the Rowley administration towards, of course, ensuring that they are relegated not only to the dustbin of political history in this country, but they get the hell out of office and face what? Yes, blue lights and silver bracelets. You know what I mean by that. Blue lights and silver bracelet, people. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. See you tomorrow morning on the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself, as we evaluate what transpired today. A wonderful day indeed. We must rejoice in it, because this has been the day that the Lord has blessed. Yes, indeed. So we go back, of course, to the waterfront as we began. And, of course, we want to tell Rowley and it will be a long, long, hot 2024. And we will not relent, we will not resist, and we will persevere unrelentingly and ruthlessly until, of course, you are out of office. And as one caller said, we will not surrender. And until you get to hell out of office, we will continue to ensure that all is done for an expeditious exit of Rowley, the PNM, and their despicable, opportunistic, political, parasitic propensity, pretending to be government and people. Oh, what a heinous bunch.
Tell me when you're hitting one, better you hit all and done. Now when I look at South Africa, and the day my race go through, lying slipping by the bogus massa, deep inside I burn, for my blood I mourn, cause I know they hit me too. Shaka, shaka, tell them when they lash my brother, tell them that they hitting all away. Shaka, shaka, when they make we children suffer, tell them they'll answer to all away. For we are family, one blood, one soul, to see our people free, one task, one goal. Shaka, shaka, tell them if they touch Mandela, tell them they better hit all away. I have seen the white man bleed, marching against apartheid, while Canadian youths protest. Free Mandela on the chest.